Greetings and welcome to another friendly debate here at Words About Games. Keith's already scoffing, that's a great sign. I am Amy Alexander and I'm joined by Keith Robinson. We came up with a name and a whole thing, and last time we did this, we came up pretty much with a format that seems to work. I don't know, I think we're going to adapt it on the fly.
Seems to work. I like
Seems to
that.
work. We've done it once. It's hardly a case study.
Yeah.
But
One and done.
this week we're going to be basically friendly debate for people who don't know, which is probably everyone, even us. To be fair, we create top 5 lists by debating each other to decide what goes into the top 5 lists. This week we're doing top 5 BioWare games. Yay. It's probably the easiest one, but also there's going to be a couple of really divisive ones.
Yes.
I feel like I've got the master list right here. I'll show it on the screen in a second. I'll show it on the screen right now, actually. So how this works is we both submitted a top 7. It didn't have to be in order, although Keith keeps insisting on putting his lists in order, which lets me know what's safer to cut. We make a top 7, we put that together, and we get a master list. I made a special whiteboard just for this occasion.
Cool.
Here it is. It's nice, isn't
Cool.
it?
I'm totally not reopening a load of windows because I thought we were doing the wrong one. But yes, cool.
Yes, we are drunk. We're recording 2 at once. So when our outfits look exactly the same in 2 weeks, we did
I'm usually
change.
wearing a hoodie. The color occasionally changes.
We did change many times in the interim between videos. This is our master list. How this works is, shut up. How this works is, we are each going to take turns to decide which game we're going to cut. We're going to make an argument for it. The other person can respond and try and defend that game, in this case, to try and keep it on the list. It's then up to the person who decided to cut the game whether that argument wins them over or not. And then the rules slightly change when we get into the top 5, which, as you can see, is not filled out here on this side, which is totally left. Yes, on the left-hand side.
Well, that came out left field.
But, shut up. I will get to those rules when we get to that portion of the video. And as always, in the interests of something, I don't know, it's not fairness, I don't know what it is, it's the interest of something, Keith gets to go first and attempt to destroy one of these games. It will be erased from the timeline and you won't be able to play it again. Go. I'm just kidding, it just gets taken off the master list. I don't have that power.
Yeah. The thing with the BioWare is, I like all of these games. Although I did actually have to stretch the rules on this one slightly to include expansions, just so I didn't have to include a game that I didn't like by BioWare on this list.
I mean, that would have... I did that last time. I included a character I didn't like on the list.
Mm-hmm.
As a red herring.
Yeah.
I forgot to mention as well, this part of my introductory spiel that I've been working on in my head as well. Don't take these lists too seriously, because we sure as shit don't.
Yeah. It would be wonderful if I could see that master list again.
Oh, honestly.
Because I don't have a copy of that one.
I sent you the list. Keith now has the list. So now he can actually choose to take a game off the list.
Yes. What game would I want to take off the list so it never happened? Andromeda. Mass Effect Andromeda.
I don't think you're alone there, but go on.
Yeah. Mostly because there's a lot of people out there that would love this to have been taken off the list, to it never existed, so that the Mass Effect 4, air quotes, could have been a thoroughly ironed out game before release. That we could have had a wonderful game that may or may... I mean, they say it hasn't killed the franchise, but it certainly did a number on it.
I mean, I'm instantly reminded of the Futurama Star Trek quote between George Takei. Way to kill the franchise, Bakula. Even though it was actually Star Trek Nemesis that killed the franchise, but that's beside the point. It's still a funny joke. Mass Effect Andromeda wasn't a bad game. It was very broken. And I experienced many of these glitches myself. especially considering I was playing with a review copy before we had a day one patch for a portion of my playing time of the game. And yeah, it definitely. I mean, I've said, how many times have I said on a podcast when we've talked about Mass Effect, if only they'd released Andromeda in the summer, it wouldn't have been coming out against Horizon, Zelda, Persona. It would have been on its
Yeah.
own. It would have been fine. It would have worked properly.
Yes.
But we wouldn't have gotten the gifts. And that is 26% of the reason why it's on this list. The memes. The memes are amazing. But yeah, no, I'm definitely taking this off of the list.
Okay.
Sometimes you've just got to know what you can keep and what you got to let go. But I want the record to state that Mass Effect Andromeda was not terrible. It was kind of okay. And the ending alone deserves credit for basically being how Mass Effect 3 should have ended. So there's that.
I'm just looking to see Mass Effect 3 on this list.
It's not.
No, it's not. I wonder why.
We're
The
already
entire reason that Mass Effect Andromeda was because they couldn't go back to the Milky Way galaxy after Mass Effect 3.
Indeed. So we're down to 9 games. This is going to be tough. I don't like this. I don't like this. Who came up with this format and this idea for a series of videos? God damn you. Anyway, I'm going to make a pitch to cut Neverwinter Nights Swords of the Underdark for the pure and simple reason that it's really good. And I've never played it. I assume it's really good. You always talk highly about it. I love Neverwinter Nights.
Yeah.
But it's an expansion, so.
Yeah. Like, brief caveat. Neverwinter Nights Swords of the Underdark. Basically, you start in a tavern, and it gets broken into the light, and you go into the Underdark, or you go through. It's basically a walking tour of all the really big name checks in D&D Forgotten Realms. You start the Yawning Portal. You meet Durnan. You go into the Yawning Portal. You meet Halasta, the Mad Mage. You go through the Undermountain, the biggest dungeon in the world. You go to the Underdark for a bit. That's kind of cool. Then you go to Hell. Literal hell.
I know that place.
Yeah. You go to the bit which is frozen over, which I think was a really nice touch.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's a really nice one. It touches on really old lords of true names, and you get to fight a devil, who may or may not kill you. It's all basically going through the epic level content, which is the first and only time I think it's ever come up in a D&D game. Your characters go epic level. It was really fun. Kept breaking on me, and had an annoying kobold bard in it because it's a continuation from a previous expansion. But I totally get why you'd want to cut that out, because it is an expansion and it might be 30, 35 hours.
Oh no!
Yeah.
I mean, the likes of which we just never see anymore. I appreciate it as a full, separate, standalone experience.
Yeah.
But it's really easy to just go, it's an expansion, and not have to look at all of these great games, and go, fuck. I'm going to argue against one of these.
But Hordes of the Underdark was on here purely because it's the better of the two expansions. It's better than the previous one, Shadow over Undertide. And I really didn't want... I only wanted to put games on here that I actually played, and I really... did not want to put Mass Effect 3 on here because it's just going to be... It'll be the first thing either of us cut, and we would just be ragging on whoever wrote that ending for half an hour.
Good call. So that's a year?
Yeah, we can cut Order of the Underdark off.
Okay. So we're down to 8 games. Baldur's Gate, Dragon Age Origins, Dragon Age 2, Dragon Age Inquisition, Mass Effect 2, Neverwinter Nights, and Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. And Keith, it's your turn.
My turn to cut, I think.
Yeah, this just gets exponentially harder until we actually get to the top 5.
Yeah.
I feel like we've done the easy ones.
I know it's a lot of lore behind it. This is a really great game. We're never gonna get a continuation of the series, which is probably guess which game I'm gonna try and cut. It's Knights of the Old Republic.
How dare you?
I only got a little way in. to the game because I came to it like much too late. The sort of point where you almost need an emulator on your PC to run it.
It is what it is.
And it's basically all of it reminds me of original Neverwinter Nights, like all the dialogue boxes, all like the rolling and stuff. That like the acting. So, I mean the behind the scenes rolling and stuff. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
one could say
I
it was
guess I was
BioWare's
too old
last.
and too spoiled, but that is the first thing that's going to crop up on my list and stuff to cut.
One could say it was the last true RPG BioWare made. One would be wrong because Dragon Age came out after that, and that's just the stupidest thing I've ever said in my entire life.
Yeah, I was looking at you, looking at all of the RPGs.
I just looked, I was like, no way, Dragon Age Origins definitely came after Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. I mean, I was the one that put Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic on this list because it's fucking Star Wars, man. It's got one of the best, greatest plot twists in the history of video games. I obviously not going to spoil that twist for anyone out there who hasn't played
for like a 20-year-old game.
Look, right, I'm that kind of considerate person. If you ain't played Knights of the Old Republic, you should definitely play Knights of the Old Republic. It was amazing. It was on Xbox. Like, I played an RPG on a console. I played Morrowind on a console as well, and that was an experience.
You've not played the original Dragon Age on
won't go into that. Xbox 360. Again, that came after. Like, this was still novel, because, like, PCs were RPGs, and consoles were shooters. Actually, my Xbox was mostly just a Halo machine. But Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, man, it's fucking amazing. It's better than a couple of games I can see on this list. And I don't know what to tell you, man. No, don't worry, I'm not just talking about that, but we'll get into that. I don't know what to tell you. The story's amazing. It's classic BioWare. It's the BioWare we don't get to see anymore. It's not the BioWare that made Anthem. And it's fucking Star Wars. You get to be in a Star Wars universe. You get a droid as a companion who's basically a psychopath. Like, literally. He's a psycho. He just talks about killing humans. It's awesome. And the twist.
Basically, that.
You didn't get the twist in. You didn't get the twist, did you?
I mean,
don't get me wrong. The whole story was fantastic, but the twist. I can't tell you what the twist is. Oh, if you know what the twist is, then that's fair enough. But
yeah, I'm pretty sure I know what the twist was.
I'll
just do a little mime.
Yep, totally. I mean, any Star Wars game from LucasArts, you get to choose whether you're going to be a good guy or a bad guy at the end of it. But BioWare went further than that. BioWare went further than that, and I salute them for it. I'm going to fangirl out unless you stop me. Hold! What's the verdict?
Is it a yay or a nay to cut it from the top 5?
That would be on you because I'm not conceding. So that's up to you. Have I won you
we'll
over?
Come back to this one.
We're coming back to it. I'll put a star next to it. Shit. Now I've got to think of something, right? Well, as you may or may not have noticed, it's not going to be Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. Instead, I'm going to make a play for Dragon Age Inquisition. Surprise! It's a really good game. I really like Dragon Age Inquisition. It was on my Game of the Year list. I don't remember where. I know it wasn't top because that was the air shadow of the first one came out. I always get the two mixed up. Mordor. Pretty sure Mordor was the first one, but there's a lot, not necessarily wrong with the game, but a lot that I don't think is particularly great about the game. It does some really good things. The way you can have actual non-romantic relationships with the characters in your party. Like, you could be nice to them, and then you won't have to reject them further down the line. Mwah! After going through Dragon Age Origins and especially Dragon Age 2, and having everybody coming at me for romantic styles. Like, I remember having a purely platonic relationship with that awesome guy who's in charge of your army in the Inquisition. Cullen?
Cullen. Yeah, it begins with C.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Cullen. So, like, don't it's a really good game. It takes too long to get going. It has a villain pulled from the DLC of the previous game. And I'm, as someone who doesn't play the DLC of the previous games, that immediately to me was just like,
Corpheus.
Corypheus. Yeah.
Yeah,
I read
Corypheus, yeah.
stuff to prepare for this. Because even though, you shouldn't take this list seriously, we take the debate seriously. And also, it's the mission structure in the game itself. Like, there's a lot of stuff that's just go here, collect this, go here, collect that. It's like MMO mission structure.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel like I was doing anything particularly important when I wasn't doing the main story quests, some of which are epic, by the way.
Yeah.
The attacking the castle mission in Dragon Age Inquisition.
Yeah, there's one where you go to fight at the Grey Warden's castle, and it's just being overrun by demons, and
It's amazing. And you come through, and like you just fucking let's fuck some shit up. Fantastic. The characters were great, so most of them. I never liked that mage lady, and I don't think we ever really talked.
oh yeah.
And so I'm not saying it's a bad game. I'm saying, is it a top 5 BioWare game? Probably not.
I'm agreeing with you on this one.
Well,
But mostly because there's just that thing. It's like there's a few too many fetch quests. The crafting system was a bit weird, and I didn't quite like how I was looking for some stuff. And then there was that ludicrous thing of, okay, I need to make a bridge across this area of the desert.
oh, I forgot about the bridge.
Another bridge across this area of the desert.
And it was all based on timers as well. I remember that. Yeah, you had to fucking build a bridge, wait an hour, and then you get back, and then you have to build a second bridge.
Immediately. There's not even like anywhere to explore or pick anything up on the other side of the first one.
It's like, come on, dudes. You're better than that. I know you're better than that. I can see from this list that you're better than that. Dragon Age Inquisition is out. We are left with Baldur's Gate, Dragon Age Origins, Dragon Age 2, the game Keith thought I was about to say, Mass Effect, Mass Effect 2, Neverwinter Nights, and Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. Take it away, Maestro.
See, I mean, I've already hit Knights of the Old Republic once, and I'm thinking if I hit the other game that I haven't really played, so I can't really go too much into it, I'm gonna just get battered back a second time. So I'm looking at these other ones, thinking of which one I'm gonna try and knock back. I can't think of one, but
remember there are no standings outside of the top 5.
Yeah,
so it doesn't matter what everybody's doing.
I'm gonna take a smack at Baldur's Gate. Now, Baldur's Gate is apparently a wonderful game, complete with the many strange things that happened during, D&D in the 70s and 80s, given that it has a miniature giant space hamster called Boo, carried around by a barbarian called Minsk. And if you haven't played the game, you probably don't know what I'm on about.
It's an old game, I'll give you that.
Yeah, it is a very old game, and there's some patches and stuff so you can play it in Neverwinter Nights 2. So slightly updated graphics and stuff. But
there's an enhanced edition, isn't there? Oh, I need to get that.
No, literally, some people went through and remade the entire of Baldur's Gate in the Neverwinter Nights 2 engine.
I may have to check that out. Let me tell you about Baldur's Gate.
Yeah.
Baldur's Gate is the reason I played Dungeons and Dragons. It's probably my first RPG I ever played. I remember getting it on PC. I don't know where the fuck I even got it from now that I think about it. My parents sure as shit didn't buy it for me, but it came in this huge box. It was on 4 CDs or 3 CDs. Each one in had its own little sleeve. And then there was this huge manual with just obviously compared to like a player's guide, like not very. It's quite small, but it was huge and it had loads of stuff about D&D in it. And then you get in, and I know it was second edition, right? It wasn't based on the rules of third edition
I've not played
because I'm
Baldur's
pretty sure
Gate, so I
third
couldn't
edition
tell you which
wasn't
one it was.
wasn't
It
a
was old
thing.
enough that it might have been D&D Advanced.
Yeah, it might have been a D&D. Like, and Baldur's Gate 2 is a better game than Baldur's Gate, like, or at least I personally think so. Well, the reason Baldur's Gate is on the list instead of 2 is because I didn't want to put 2 Baldur's Gates on, and this one is more personal because, like I say, I remember like this was when I was a kid and we had one computer, a family computer, and it was in the freaking, it was in like the dining room. Don't ask. We had a weird house layout, and I just had to sit there with the headphones on playing this amazing Dungeons and Dragons RPG, and I'd heard of Dungeons and Dragons, but I didn't know anyone at the time who played Dungeons and Dragons, and it was just like I didn't know anyone at the time who played Dungeons and Dragons, and it was just like opened my eyes to like this whole new world of just like RPGs are cool, nerdy games that aren't Mortal Kombat or whatever the fuck everybody, all the popular kids are playing on that Mega Drives is cool. Fantasy stuff is awesome, and now I play D&D every week slash month slash half year. It depends when we can all get together on Discord. So here's what I'm gonna do, because I don't want to knock back a second one for you to then have to say either yes or no. I want to keep Baldur's Gate. I'm going to put a star next to it if you agree to this. And as much as I'm going to vomit in my mouth here, and I'll give you Star Wars.
Okay.
I feel dirty. I feel dirty. I really do. 1, 2, 3. So we've got 6 games left.
Yeah.
And it's my turn to pick. I really did not expect that to make it this far. But I'm going to go for something completely different and say a Dragon Age 2. Like, it's the only one left out of those that would be at the bottom of the pile. I mean, we've never really had this discussion, have we?
No, we haven't.
Dragon Age 2 is pretty good for a game that they made in like less than a year. It's just, it's so like, if they'd gone straight from Origins to Inquisition, which apparently was the plan, I feel like that would have been a much better like step. It's not that I even necessarily dislike the games at all. It's just you go through an entire first act where it's like, oh, what's the main story? Oh, we have to go to the Deep Roads. Okay, cool. Like, how do we do that? Like, in terms of like, oh, you just have to do tons of side quests until you saved up enough money to go to the Deep Roads. Really? You don't have any story quests for me? No. Just do side quests. Just keep doing side quests. Okay, cool. Well, are the side quests at least really varied and interesting? Oh no, they're like the same 2 warehouses full of like different enemies each time. But like there were literally, I did 2 quests back to back when I was playing Dragon Age 2, where you go in through a door, through a corridor, and you come out, and it's this port map. And there's a boat, and there's like the stuff, and there was a ramp going up to the side, and it was like an area where you could have archers or ranged enemies, and then you cut through, and you go through a portcullis. And do you know how I remember that? Because like I did 2 side quests back to back, and it was the same map both times. It wasn't even very good at hiding its repetition. It was an interesting idea for a story set in one city with a bit of was it like a swamp or a marshland or something?
So the basic story is it's not about like some great overhauling evil is coming to like destroy the entire kingdom. It begins with you fleeing the events of the first game.
I mean,
And it's basically about the story of a family called the Hawks.
oh yeah, it's just a story about the Hawks and how like Connor Hawk, that's the guy from Green Arrow. Just ignore what I just said. Hawk just becomes like the champion of the city of whatever, and it's all told through flashbacks because the lady Chantry paladin person is interrogating the best character in the game by about 6 country miles. Well, there was stuff to like about the game. Like it felt
The
incon.
tutorial is perhaps the best tutorial I've seen ever.
Yes, and the
This is how you fight.
mid game section where he's telling him how he went into the house and killed everybody. And it was like, yeah, and it was like, tell me what really happened. Like, all right, fine.
Everything becomes a lot harder.
Stuff like that was cool. I'm disappointed that only happened once. Like, and like some of the characters, like the slave dude, oh, just no.
Fenris, yeah.
I made the stupid mistake of this being one of the few games where I decided to play as a dude instead of a chick. So I got saddled with Hawk's annoying brother like instead of his sister, and
it's based off class, not
then I yeah, and I was never going to play a mage because the new combat system was very focused towards immediate, instantaneous action. Like, yeah, there was some good stuff in there. I liked Meryl. Everybody on the internet thinks Meryl was annoying and sucked, but I thought she was kind of funny.
I think she was incredibly misguided, and
I mean, let's not get into the thing of the story of criticizing the story. We could do that as a video separately sometime if you want. But yeah, no, just honestly, the questing system in the early going is just like, you need to give me something and you gave me nothing. Is my main gripe with it, as well as all the other ones that I said. That's my main sort of thing that I hang the banner on. Because, yeah. I was just playing for time while you were coughing there.
Yeah, sorry, just had a dry mouth coughing fit.
Also, out of all the games that I left on this list, there ain't no way I'm letting Dragon Age 2 get higher than any of them. Not without fight, anyway. Fight.
Fight!
Mortal Kombat!
I mean, Dragon Age 2, the storyline, I mentioned it because it does something different, really, than a lot of other ones, which is like, most RPGs kind of like run forward. So it's, just over the hill, it's like this, like, open world where you're heading in a direction, and when you get there, you have some big fight. And you defeat the enemies. Whereas this was separating the acts, which spaced out between time, and certain actions had consequences. And yeah, there was stuff about it that was kind of like, really, like, for instance, you just said there's a lot of repetition, and I could get that if you kept going back to the same locations, like between acts. There could have been a few more rooms or building layouts. Do agree with that.
A few?
Yeah, and you want the same bits of coast. You want the like up and down the same bit of coast, the same marshland, the same elvish retreat for the elves.
We're not going to talk about that.
Yeah. So there was a few bits of that, but I did like things like the growing between personalities of characters over the acts. Like, some of them you didn't really have any interaction with the NPCs over time. Some of them had like some great depth to them, and you do it together. There was stuff which is like different between our playthroughs, which is Isabella. I'm sure you hated.
I didn't hate her nothing there until she fucked off and stole all my shit, all of the shit, and I was like, "What the fuck you just done to me, bitch?"
Yeah,
I was nice to you.
She steals one thing, which just happens to be a massive MacGuffin, and causes a lot of. Well, like, most of the issues in Kirkwall for the next few decades are caused by this book going missing in the first place. Then her nicking off of it, unless you did what I did, which is like fully befriended her, at which point he turns back up with the book. Things go to hell anyway because of plot.
Because things go to hell. Because choices are relevant.
Yeah.
Shit still explodes.
Yeah, that's the act after it. But yeah,
my memories of specific events in Dragon Age 2 are very hazy.
Yeah. But now there was some great plot lines around the family. Serial killers, brothers being annoying, or sisters being annoying, depending on how things went with the Deep Road. Yeah. There were issues with it, but it's not a bad game, and it gets ragged on a lot. And every time we talk about it, Amy brings it up and goes, oh, it's not about, like, it's like, oh, it's rushed out. And it was like, it's like, you
It's
bring it up every
categorically.
single time.
They're on the record. They're
Yeah.
saying it's
No,
rushed
no, it's
out.
like, yeah, well, the game was rushed out. It's like, yeah, doesn't stop being a bad game, but every time you quantify it goes, oh, it was, it was a good game.
Keith's
You
getting some
can
stuff
play
off
it.
his chest now.
um, I know it was never going to this because you're going to die on a hill, strung with barbed wire. You know,
Even if you like literally
you're
impale
blown off
me,
by napalm before this game gets on like a top 5 BioWare game.
you could order a bombing run of my house. And that still wouldn't stop me from getting rid of it. I never said it was a bad game. I even said it's an okay game. It's just you come from one game and then you come to the next game and then it's just like, I don't know why this happened. Why? 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 Not in an angry like, why, man? Just like, you're already
I
working
know it's
on a
got
game.
Dragon Age, and then it's like 2, but it doesn't have to be a direct follow-on successor to the original Dragon Age,
No, it didn't. It didn't.
like the Final Fantasy series.
I never said it needed to be a successor to Dragon Age Origins. I would have liked it if it was as good as Dragon Age Origins. And I'm well aware that I'm on the minority of this. Not on this podcast, because for somehow I've managed to surround myself with a collection of people who agree with me or just never played Dragon Age. But in the wider world, like, I know for a fact that I'm on the minority of, like, Dragon Age fans. And also, I have now been responsible for cutting 2 Dragon Age games, and I'm sure that's going to go down really fucking well. But here's the whiteboard, as we're into the final 5.
Yeah.
Ow. Yeah, we've only got 5 games left. There they are. Baldur's Gate, Dragon Age Origins, Mass Effect 2, Neverwinter Nights. 1-5. Final standings. It's the final countdown. I'm never going to do that on a friendly debate again, I promise. That was terrible. So now, how this works is slightly differently, because we're not talking about cutting games anymore. I'm going to hold this up. High technological... I mean, you can't even see the whole title, man. Like, what was I thinking? I'll just lean it back a bit. There we go.
I was just thinking, if you move it down slightly,
I can't. There's a desk in front of me and to my side. Also, I keep banging my headset off the off the thing. This show is a work in progress. I feel like it's charming because it's low technology. But how this is going to work now is, instead of trying to cut games from the list, we're going to be arguing for games, which is a lot easier. And we're not going to be taking turns anymore. We're going to make pitches for bringing games into the list, starting at number 5 until we work our way up to number 1. Looking at this list, knowing my opinions and knowing Keith's opinions, number 1 and 2 could take a while. But I'm going to start with a pitch. Okay. A pitch for number 5, if you don't mind. Oh, I should also mention, instead of arguing against something, if you disagree, if Keith disagrees with what I'm about to say, he makes a counter pitch for a different game, and then we collectively decide which argument held out. But I'm going to make a pitch for Mass Effect to go in at number 5.
I totally agree.
Thank you. I didn't think it was going to get to the top 5. I had a vision in my head of me saying I want to cut this game. That's what's so great about the debate structure of friendly debate. Sometimes things go differently. Sometimes things don't go your way. Sometimes Ash ends up in the top 5 Overwatch characters list, and you're not sure how the fuck that happened, even though you made an impassioned plea in her defense and brought her to the list in the first place. But
mostly how much you like the voice actress that got her in there.
It was all about how her personal style, Jennifer Hale, and the fact that I played once as her and I was amazing at it, so clearly she's amazing. But Mass Effect, fantastic game, awesome sci-fi space opera. At the time it came out, mind-blowing for how the story worked, how choices worked, the conversation wheel, where it was like, I mean, let's not. Mass Effect 3 is not on this list. Let's just pretend it doesn't exist. When you do, it's like choices. Like the choices matter in
No,
Mass
no, I
Effect.
was thinking right trigger, left trigger,
Oh
Paragon and
yeah,
Renegade.
Paragon Renegade. Like we've moved on from that now, but at the time, oh, so good. Like they managed to take the morality system from the Star Wars games and apply it to something that wasn't Star Wars. The conversation wheel meant that, like, it was more exciting to get into a conversation than a fight in an RPG slash third person shooter, and fuck, that's something. Like that's an achievement right there. It's that combat. It's very very clunky to play in the modern day. I've as a massive Mass Effect fan, I've tried to replay it. Not recently, like it was a few years ago, and because it's still an RPG and not a shooter, like it doesn't have that feedback of the other Mass Effect games, which are more leaning towards shooters than RPGs. Because again, this was before loot shooters and actual RPGs, where they successfully merged the two genres in games like The Division, I guess would be one. So the shooting mechanics are really ropey. Like you're aiming at little triangles on the enemies to do damage and stuff, and yeah, it doesn't hold up very well. The movement's very clunky, and all of the cutscenes are really static
Yeah.
because there's no dynamic movement like that there is in the later Mass Effect games or even the later Dragon Age games. Everybody just kind of stands there talking to each other.
Yeah, like during the loading scenes. I mean, the elevator scene.
I mean, it's the only game, as someone pointed out on Twitter, like this morning. Actually, I was reading it this morning. It's like it's the only game where you can get side quests from loading screens, and it's better than Anthem's solution, which is the game that inspired us to make this list. Celebrate the history of Mass Effect. But that's my pitch. Mass Effect to go in at number 5.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Okay, cool. Mass Effect. Okay. So we are left with Baldur's Gate, Dragon Age Origins, Mass Effect 2, and Neverwinter Nights.
So I'm gonna make a pitch.
Might be the same pitch I was about to make, but go ahead.
Yeah. And if it's if it's successful, I'm pretty sure that I know what the next pitch is going to be. I'll have to take it, which means I'm basically just going to be fighting out for the last, like, the top spot and the second spot. So I'm going to pitch Baldur's Gate at like the 4th slot. Mostly because I can't like say too much about the gameplay. I know it's greatly inspired you. It greatly inspired other follow-on games, which have maybe more notoriety or less notoriety. But it did inspire quite a genre of Western RPGs, including some of the other games on this list.
Yeah, two of the games on this list are a direct descendant of Baldur's Gate. But here's the great thing about direct descendants. They can be better than the original. Baldur's Gate was the first game that used the Infinity Engine. There's a reason that might ring a bell to you. It's because when we talk about the resurgence of CRPGs in terms of Wasteland and Divinity Original Sin and Pillars of Eternity, they're called Infinity Engine. I can't remember what they call it now, but they always reference the Infinity Engine. Spiritual successors to the Infinity Engine, because that's the game that basically started Western CRPGs in terms of the way that like we view them today. But yeah, no, totally. Like the successors can be better than the original games. It's like Resident Evil 2. I was talking to my good friend Corey Spearman, MC Fixer, about Resident Evil 2, and he sits on the stream while we were talking. He was doing a speedrun of the game, and he was saying, he said he thinks Resident Evil 2 2019, the remake, is the better of the two games, but his favourite will always be Resident Evil 2 because of nostalgia. Now, I'll always have really fond memories of Baldur's Gate. I'll have more fond memories of Baldur's Gate than 2 out of 3 of the games on this list. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's a better game, and I can recognise that. And the pitch is successful, so I'm just going to get this out of the way.
Okay.
And put Dragon Age Origins at number 3. While I'm here. while we're talking about spiritual successors, I'm pretty sure on the front cover of the box of Dragon Age Origins, it literally said, "From the creators of Baldur's Gate." And I'm pretty sure in the run up to Dragon Age Origins coming out, they talked about Baldur's Gate and CRPGs and the Infinity Engine and how they wanted to make that kind of experience again after doing things like KOTOR and working on Mass Effect for Microsoft. Gaming was weird a while ago. It was a lot more scattershot. Dragon Age Origins is a fucking fantastic game. It's a lot better if you play it on PC than on console, just purely because you have access to the hotbar, and there are a lot of skills in that game. It kind of locks off a certain play styles, just in terms of like being able to access skills really easily. And then at one point, but then it's the game where I made Team Tank, and I had my character he was a tank based warrior. I had Alistair, I had Shale, and I had Sten in a party, and we just brutalized everything. Healing? We don't need healing if everybody's dead. Also, I played as Shale in that because that was a thing you could do. You could just switch between your party members. So I just played Shale and threw rocks at people. And I mean, that's like the least. Like on the list of things I would consider, these are arguments for why Dragon Age Origins is a fantastic game. That's like way down there. Like, I don't know why I'm starting from the bottom.
The dwarf golem that was shaved down.
Yeah. And she was the statue in the middle of the thing, and he brought it to life. Such a fucking great game.
I like the one where you just turn around and like when you hear a chicken die, and it's like, what the? He's just standing there. It's just like, what?
What? I didn't hear anything. Yeah, the story was phenomenal. The actual origins, where it's like you choose an origin story, and like that colors like perceptions of characters and what happens in the story, and side quests that are available, and dialogue that's available, and hell, even some of them even color the types of endings that are available. Because Dragon Age Origins gets it in terms of a choice-based mechanic system where it's not leading to one ending. Like, sure, you get to the end, you defeat the big bad, but then you've got all of these characters, and you've had all of these experiences, and you've done all of these things. And Dragon Age Origins gets it and says, by the way, there's like 25 different endings to all of the things that you've done in this game. And here they all are. Take notes, Mass Effect series. But the epilogue to that game was exactly what I was hoping and expecting from the Mass Effect series, and they just decided to fly up their own asses at warp speed.
This is becoming quickly a
I mean,
shit in that Mass
you
Effect,
didn't
really.
even put it in the list, so we wouldn't shit on it, but we're shitting on it anyway. Because I've done it twice now. But no, yeah, Dragon Age. Unless you've got any objections anyway. Dragon Age Origins, I haven't written that down in very neat handwriting, so I'm gonna rewrite that. So that would be our number 3. So there's 2 games left.
Yeah.
And as I noted when we discussed the idea for doing this top 5 BioWare games list, one of these games was on your 7 favorite games of all time list when we did that as a podcast, and the other one was on my 7 favorite games of all time list.
Yeah.
So I don't know how we're going to manage this.
Oh, I think we'll be able to manage this.
Okay.
I think we'll manage.
Sounds like you have a plan.
Indeed. See,
you can't threaten my D&D character. That won't work.
No. I'll just speak for a bit. I'm looking at Neverwinter Nights. And that was like, again, one of the strange things, because it used to be a thing where you had your PC in your living room or your dining room. I know yours was kind of underneath the stairs.
It was under the stairs.
Whereas mine was right behind the sofa. And I played that game so much. Like 3 or 4 times, and there's stuff where it's like the person who gives you like the question tutorial at the beginning goes nuts because her. Well, it's such a wonderful story. It's like it's not off like, oh, there's this plague effect, and we're going to be eventually we're going to go out looking for the cure and stuff, and then you find out what's causing it and stuff, and the person who's been your kind of mentor and stuff turns out her boyfriend got duped by some clerics who said they were here to help and were actually spreading the disease, and all the people you've been saving decide to kill him, hang him from a tree, as well as the people, because they need someone to blame because you've just killed the people who've been spreading the disease. And she goes nuts for that, decides to swear vengeance on the city and raises an army who you fight for pretty much the rest of the game. And it gives you something that's wonderful at the end of it all, at the very end of the game. There is an option let's try and persuade her to like wake up and watch everything she's doing and like bring her back to the side of the good guys, which is really difficult because they killed the lover of her life. But if you manage it, she ends up in the tower dungeon, and the game ends on you not knowing if they decide to execute her or not. Because even the Lord and shit side of the city is like, yeah, executing something like an innocent person is how we really got into this. We would really mess up. But she still raised an army against us, even if she turned us a good side at the very end. And I love that. I loved like a lot of, I wouldn't say moral ambiguity, but I loved some of the quest lines, and some of the stuff in that was just so weird and so wonderful. Oh yeah, we'll go into the bottom level of the prison. This is awesome from the beginning. We'll go to the bottom of the prison, and yeah, okay, so we're going to have a boss fight. It's probably the first boss fight, and it's basically there's a creature living inside someone, like the inmate's brains, and if you kill the inmate, it bursts out and goes to another inmate. It's a wonderful game. The graphics aren't great, because obviously it's a very old game, but it's a wonderful game, and it introduced so many people to 3rd edition, because it was pretty much made when 3rd edition came out. And like you said with Baldur's Gate, you got a game manual of it, which was basically a 3.5 book. So it was all wonderful. But I can't see it being the best BioWare game of all time. Because I can even just sitting here, I can, like, the soundtrack to Mass Effect 2 is coming into my head. And from the cold open, which if you played the first game, affects you. It's like, whoa, what the? Or it's just meh if you're playing it for the first time.
Yeah.
But by the end of that game, the whole stuff with the crew who you've had the chance to interact with on the Station Bastion Mega Relay, and your choices about how they can literally affect. People can live or die based on your choices even before you get into combat. And then following it, and I'm pretty sure you won't forgive me for all the choices I made.
Never. He killed Morden.
I forgot one of the people was a robot, okay?
He killed Morden. He sent Morden into the steam vents. He had a robot on his team. And then Morden's
I didn't realise it was going to be a life or death decision, and that I forgot that I had a robot on my team because I didn't really use Legion.
That is first of all, Neverwinter Nights, I agree, is a fantastic game. I first played it in university because one of my roommates was doing a game design course, and they were using the editor to make stuff. So obviously I saw it and I was like, what the fuck's this? This looks amazing. Oh, it's Neverwinter Nights. Oh, cool. I had it the next day. But so I love Neverwinter Nights. But like, you didn't know it was a life or death decision. That's the beauty of the suicide mission. You don't know what's a life or death decision. You don't know what's the right decision. And if you make the wrong decision, someone's gonna die.
I mean, you told me afterwards when we went through this, this is like, if you'd chosen a different person because there was a couple of people who died on mine, 2 people. I did the right choice to save half my crew because it was a choice where half my crew could have died if I didn't make the right choice, including like the ensign, the whatever, who was like communications or whatever, my flag lieutenant. And then it was like, oh yeah, I chose the assassin who was really great at fighting to lead a distraction. He died because I should have done was chose someone who had command experience. There was a scene where you just get Jack just firing over the command while talking on the phone. It's awesome.
Oh yeah, I mean totally. It's not necessarily a wrong choice. It's your choice. It's your story.
Yeah.
It's the ultimate choice-based. It's the ultimate conclusion to a choice-based game.
Yeah.
And it's like this can literally affect everything that happens in this like one. I can't remember how long it was. 6-day sequence. No, it didn't. It just felt that long because it was super intense. It was like 2 hours, I think, the whole suicide mission all in. And it's like I never like. I try to restrain myself on using the word masterclass when I'm talking about video games in a critical sense. But like the ending of Mass Effect 2 is a masterclass in game and mission design because it pulls from so many different things and it makes it a really personal thing that happens. Like things happened in yours that didn't happen in mine. Dialogue happened differently. Some people lived, some people died.
I mean, there was something like we're going through. You could do watching all of the playthrough of my decisions and stuff. It's like I was given the we're both given the choice of. We both chose what we considered to be the morally and ethically the only decision that we could possibly make. We chose different outcomes based on the morals. Now, the decision was: do you rewrite all the consciousness of like 1,000 Geth, like these robots, like basically taking away their free will, and capable of like all their memories and feelings and stuff. And on one side you got an army, on the other side you've like you just blow up the station and kill them. And I was like, what's worse, being like mentally enslaved or death? And I thought about this for a minute and went, okay, I'll just blow up the station because if these things do have a soul, I don't know if it was but if these things have a soul.
Paragon playthrough.
Yeah, a Paragon with all of the Paragon playthrough. I thought I'll blow it up because I don't want to like erase all the thoughts and memories of this type and then mind control his foot soldiers in a war. Because I was like, they're just going to get sent off to die anyway, so better to die as who they are than to have everything taken from them and be forced to fight against their own people, possibly. So, blew up the station. Standard act of war in Mass Effect. You, however, decided to mind wipe all of them and using got the Paragon option and a massive amount of points. So
I don't understand how that happened either. But it says something.
It shouldn't have had any Paragon or Renegade.
It wasn't a binary moral choice.
Yeah.
And in the end, we had the same logic where it was just like they're gonna like either way was death, as far as I was concerned. But considering we were facing galactic annihilation, I was like, you know what, the needs of the many. I spocked it basically. But we had the same logic, and they came with completely like opposite conclusions. And somehow I was the good person, even though I had, like you said, just brainwashed a bunch of Geth and turned them into like enemies, like friendly soldiers. Like if I just brainwashed them and let them live their lives however they wanted, like okay, fair enough, maybe I could totally see how that might be Paragonish. But it was like, no, I'm gonna brainwash them, and then I'm gonna get them to fight the Reapers.
Yeah, I'm gonna brainwash you and send you to the front line as cannon fodder. Wait,
in fairness, as Mass Effect 3 showed, everybody was cannon fodder. But no, it's like Mass Effect 2 from the opening, which was just chilling, like goosebumps in that first sort of 5 to 10 minutes, like which is mostly a cutscene and you relearning the controls. And it's just like, wow, that's a strong opening for any game. And then if you pre-ordered the game, because it was EA, of course, you got the special free DLC where you could go to the crash site and you could like find the dog tags of all the crew that died, and you got to read the journal of the EXO from the first game who dies in the beginning of the second game. And where he's like, I'm a hardcore racist, and then it's like, I'm not so much a racist, and then like, I've had this whole like character transformation, which happens in the first game anyway, but it's nice to read it or hear it in his journals.
Yeah, there's a lot of racism in the first game.
Well, not just the first game. I'm glad she wasn't in the second game very much. But yeah, no. But yeah, no, it's the best BioWare game. Like for me personally, it always was the best BioWare game. Like it's one of those things. Like it built on everything that came before it and made it better. the story, the characters, the squad, the interactions between you and all of the different characters, the, the combat, the ending. Like,
There was quite a few like Z-less NPCs as well. Like there's two engineers that hang out in engine where you got when you got to see Tally and stuff, you occasionally have conversations with them.
yeah, it's little touches, big touches. Edie. I like to
Yeah.
see humans on their knees. That was a joke.
I forgot about that because I just really remember that from the third game.
Yeah, I mean, she's pretty cool in the third game too.
Yeah,
Horrifically sexualized, but you know, she's a
yeah,
robot lady. They all have to be horrifically sexualized, apparently. I don't understand how the suicide mission template has been used in other story-driven
yeah,
games, because it's how it should be. Like, that was so intense that I'm never gonna forget anything about it, because I knew what the consequences potentially were if I fucked up, but I didn't know what fucking up was, because it wasn't just, oh, and then all of your characters got health bars, and if they get shot enough, they'll die. No, it wasn't like that. It was worse than that. It was choices, and sometimes it was choices you'd made 20 hours earlier.
yeah. Oh, we don't need this additional hull plating. Damn it!
Oh my god!
Yeah, it's like those like free upgrades you could get to the ship, and if you didn't get them, someone died.
Someone
or you
died.
got them at the mission.
So here we go. Friendly debate, top 5 BioWare games, the final top 5 list. At number 5, we've got Mass Effect. At number 4, we've got Baldur's Gate. At number 3, it's Dragon Age Origins. At number 2, it's Neverwinter Nights. And at number 1, we have Mass Effect 2. 2 sci-fi games making a fantasy game sandwich. And now that's all you'll be able to see. I think it's a good list. I'm proud of this list. I'm proud of us. We didn't fall out over Dragon Age 2.
No.
3 years we've been putting off this discussion because we didn't want to have to deal with the repercussions. And then we decided to face it head on. I'm going to reset this bod because we're recording a second one of these right after this. But you won't see it for another 2 weeks. Until then, be awesome to each other.